What's going on YouTube? Today we're going to be looking at the Ford Mustang Mach E GT and GT Performance. We're going to spend 60 seconds going through a quick side-by-side spec comparison. Then we're going to throw the Mach E over to the simulated drag strip to see how it does. And finally, we're going to compare it against some competitors. On my screen here, you can see the side-by-side spec comparison. On the left, we have the GT Performance. On the right, we have the GT. The GT Performance is going to set you back $5,000 over the GT, but it is going to give you a little bit more torque down low. So it's going to give you 634 foot-pounds of torque and 480 horsepower, bringing a 0 to 60 time down to 3.5 seconds. This has been claimed by Ford, and this is times with 1 foot rail out subtracted. The curb weights are pretty heavy. I took these from EPA testing documents. So in the Performance, we're getting 4,989 and 1 pound less in the non-performance version, probably due to wheels and tires, at 4,988 pounds. Coefficient of drag hasn't been officially released as far as I know, but it has been estimated somewhere between 0.285 and 0.3, so I'm setting it at 0.29 for now. Both cars have 91 kilowatt hour battery packs, giving the Performance 260 miles of range as claimed by Ford, and the normal GT version 270 miles of range. We're now going to hop over to the physics-based drag race simulator where we're going to simulate a quarter mile with these two cars. On top, we have the GT Performance. On bottom, we have the base GT version. So off the bat, we see they get really hard launches. The GT 0 to 60 is coming in at 3.54, and that's with 1 foot rail out subtracted. In the normal GT, we're seeing 3.64, so just slightly slower. Through the quarter mile, we're seeing 12.4 in the GT Performance and 12.5 in the GT. So off the bat, you'll notice that these cars are both really fast. They're 12-second cars, which is pretty impressive. But the top end is completely falling off. So we're seeing trap speeds right around 105 miles an hour. The reason the car is only trapping at about 105 miles an hour is because of the power curve. At this time, there haven't been any official power curves released or dyno runs done. But we do know from real-world testing that this car has insane power drop-off from high speeds, and that's what's being shown here. So on your screen here, you can see the power curve that this simulator is using. So you can see it makes peak 480 horsepower around 4,500 RPMs. And then by the time it hits 100 miles an hour at 10,600 RPMs, it's only making 330 horsepower. And that trend continues all the way to its top speed of 124 miles an hour, where it's only making 280 horsepower. To put the power drop off into perspective, I've set up a roll-in race with the Mustang EcoBoost. So the Mustang EcoBoost is a turbo 4-cylinder that makes about 330 horsepower. I've set up the race from 60 miles an hour and it will go a half mile, and the EcoBoost is on top. So right off the bat, the Mach E gets a jump. We're starting at 60, so that's no big surprise. But as we can see, as the speed increases, the EcoBoost will start to gain ground on the Mach E. And eventually the EcoBoost will pass it at around 120 miles an hour. And through the half mile, we can see that it actually is faster. That's the main criticism I have for this car as far as performance goes. It just has massive power drop off and a low top speed. Let's compare it to a really close competitor, the Tesla Model Y, and let's see how it does in a drag race against that. The Model Y and the Mach E are very similar cars. They cover a very similar segment in the market. I've gone ahead and set up a half mile drag race starting from 50 miles an hour this time, so pretty similar as that Mustang race. And we can see the Model Y is on bottom, and it's going to get the jump right away, and it's just going to keep widening that gap. So the top end power in the Model Y is way more compared to the Mach E. If I just pause the race here at about this point, so 15 seconds in, again, we started at 50 miles an hour. The Model Y Performance is making 252 kilowatts at 133 miles an hour versus the Mach E only making 216 kilowatts. So it's making much less power, and it's only going 118 miles an hour. So through that whole top end RPM range, the Model Y is making way more power. So as a result, on highway speeds and faster, it's going to feel much more agile and you'll have much more acceleration. Another small criticism I have for this car is the curb weight. At close to 5,000 pounds, it's got almost 600 pounds over the Model Y. So this will obviously hinder performance and driving experience, but a simulation and looking at performance metrics is obviously just a tiny part of the story. I'm really excited Ford's bringing this to the market. It's a really cool car. It looks really cool. I really love how they designed it. If you're curious about the simulation, it's all physics-based, and you can find out more on motormatchup.com, and it's completely free to use if you want to check it out for yourself. You can set up races with any cars. Make sure you like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.